What's up, guys? We're gonna 𝗞𝗧𝗦𝗦, and today I'm gonna be showing you how to massively improve your dark melodies with some tips here. So we're gonna go through the whole thing. Okay, I'm gonna show you from the scratch how to do this, right? So even if you're a beginner, this will work. So first I'm gonna explain sound selection. So you want to pick dark sounds, obviously. Now you can use this in any VST, but I'm gonna oversimplify it so it's easy for you because you're probably like, I don't have the same sounds as you, etc. So I'm gonna be using 𝗖𝗙𝗨𝗥𝗦𝗘𝗦. I really like this plugin. Has a lot of cool dark sounds, but there are some things that make it dark so that you can make pretty much any sound dark. And I do this in all of at least my recent videos. So this is why I have this EQ up here. All you have to do to make a sound dark is add a reverb and delay, and if you want to add chorus you can, and you want to add a cut like this. You want to take a lot of that treble out, and pretty much you can make any sound dark, quote unquote dark, just by doing this. And I have plenty of videos where you can literally see me doing this, turning a lead into like a dark vibe sound. Okay, so that is the sound selection, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I am going to be using the sounds I want to use. We'll start with FL keys, but obviously some people may not have this. Okay, they may not have this exact plugin set up, so I'm just trying to make it easy for you. So that's the sound selection. Let's go ahead and talk about the melody and everything. Now we're gonna get into the melody and the tips here. Okay, so I'm gonna grab in a scale just because it's a lot easier for you to see what's going on. You can use whatever scales you want if you need them, but we'll use FL keys for this. So we got sound selection out the way. So let's talk about the melody. So most people, right, when you make a melody, it'll be something like this, right? And this is fine. Like when you make a dark melody, it'll sound something like that. You might throw a note. Right, you might throw a note up top, okay? No more will we do that. We're gonna transform those melodies into advanced good ones that everyone wants to hear. So I'm gonna give you a cheat code right now. So there's multiple things you can do with this, but here's what I would do is start off with your regular chord for whatever key you're in. So we're in E, so you want to start on the E chord, right? So E minor. Now the next thing you're gonna do is go down one like this. So this is technically a C major 7th chord, but we're just using this note. Okay, now the reason you do this is to get a bass line. And you can go further, but this is all you need. The next thing you'll need is, you see these notes that are right next to each other? And you see how that just sounded dark, right? These half steps here are going to make your melody sound dark, right? When you use them in combination with the notes here. So I just created you a blueprint. Well, I didn't create you one. It was already there. I'm just showing you it. So all you need to do is just remember these, right? Remember these notes. So your key, your chord, go backward. You got this note for your bass line. So now your melody is your bass line is done. Your bass chords are done. Now you just throw these in there. And this is easy. You don't really need to have a scale for this necessarily. You just remember these notes right next to each other, okay? So what we're gonna do is literally that. I'm going to delete these because they're in the way, obviously. And I'm gonna show you how to utilize this. So we're gonna pull this over, and I think we can expand this melody probably pretty far. I don't want to zoom out too much, but yeah, we'll do something like this. We'll do 2 in a row. I'm not gonna do the whole thing. I don't want to waste time, right? But I will at least show you the process of how to turn this into one of those melodies, okay? And then we also have other stuff I'm going to show you. This isn't the only thing. This is the setup. So what we'll do here first, we'll delete this and we'll delete this, okay? What we're gonna do is pull this up an octave like so. And I'm gonna pull this down a little bit so we have more space, right? And then if you want to use those notes we had before, like if you want to use them, you can just pull them up, okay? And matter of fact, I'll just do it now. We'll pull it up 2 octaves and we'll just come back to those. But if we're starting down here, you're just gonna go up 7 twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Copy it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom. Okay, now we have every note we need for a nice dark melody. Okay, and these work really well if you want to make like dark samples. Now you can see it's getting crazy. So what do you do next? All you have to do is animate it. What does that mean? You just move them over. All right, you just move them over. That's all you do. So I'm gonna just move these over a bit. And then we can probably try to add like a cool little sequence in here. And then I'm gonna pull these back, and then we could do one right here. Right, you want to kind of mix in some of these other notes in here, but you see I'm just using the same notes. This is very basic. Right, and now you can see it sound a lot better. Okay, and we still need a top melody for this, but what I'm gonna go ahead and do is pretty much copy this over like so. We'll do this, and then we'll pull this to C, right? Okay, and then I'll just copy this down an octave. Oops, I don't know why I did that. We'll just drag it down manually. Okay, so here is our bass melody. Okay, so next what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to use all the other notes that we talked about earlier to build a top melody, which is pretty easy because it's gonna be a lot easier than this. And then after that, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you some tips that you can use for some of your accents and other elements to make it sound a lot better without working hard. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we're gonna go ahead and add that top melody, and this is where the melody kind of becomes yours, because obviously we just use a lot of technique here. So what you could do first is you could take some of these notes and just pull them over. So you could put them over in the same spot, or you could kind of like pull them and just pull them up 1 or 2 octaves. I suggest maybe 2 so you can have a lot to play with. And then I'm just gonna shift D to make these smaller. And then what we can do is play around with these notes. Let's see if we can do. Right, remember those half steps here. You could play around with these. Boom. Okay, I'm gonna try to go fast because I don't want to waste time. And then with your top melody, don't treat it like this, like a repeating sequence. Treat it like a, you know, the call and response type of thing. You want it to at least your 4 bars. You want it to be like a sequence. Not some, well, it can be repeating. I'm not saying you can't do that, but if you want it to be a little bit more interesting, you kind of want the melody to kind of flow through. You don't want it to just be like this the whole time, right? So I'm gonna let that play, and I'm gonna just drag this back over, and then we can drag this back over. Okay, so now we got something that flows while not working too hard. Okay, and then we can kind of repeat this same thing over here, but just change up the notes. Oops. So we could actually move this down here. Okay, and then maybe we could do something like this. And I'm gonna actually change the color of these. Forget. There we go. So you can see the difference. And then let's pull these up. Well, actually, let's copy this over. And this is just where you got to kind of be creative and figure out like some interesting to do. So let's listen to that. I want to adjust these a little bit. Now, the velocity is full. To make this sound a lot better, we will edit the velocity. I'll do that off camera and I'll show you the difference. All right, so that is our bass melody. We've got a lot more tips to go through using some of these. So what I'll do is kind of mess with the velocity a little bit and show you the difference and why you should tinker with the velocity. But let's go ahead and move on to the next part. Now we're gonna go ahead and add that second melody here. So for the velocity, they didn't have the dynamics I wanted and the sound I picked for it, which is this one. It doesn't have that velocity that I like, so I just kind of left it. But if you just want to hear the velocity changes with the piano. Okay, a lot softer, but it's not perfect. It's not where I want it, but we use this just so we can hear it, because a lot of the sounds that I have here are very soft, as you can tell. So this is what this sounds like for our melody. Okay, so we're off to a good start here. So next what we're gonna do is I'm gonna steal from, well, this tip is stealing from like orchestral melodies, because sometimes they'll have like a staccato in the background playing under the other instruments. So this is where I kind of stole this from. So this is the sound I have. So what we're gonna do is make a simplified version of this, okay? And all you need to do, don't worry about none of this up top, just look at this and just take a part. So you can just take the mid part and just say, okay, these are the notes I'm going to use mainly. Okay, so we're going to take that. So we're going to know the G, F sharp, B. So G, F sharp, and then B. And oops, I don't know why it does that. Boom. Okay. And then you could copy this down like so. And you don't need to listen to it because you know these notes work, right? And I'm gonna pull it up. You can see it's already creating a lot of bounce in the melody that we could probably use for, you know, obviously it'll sound good when we put a beat. And then we just copy it over, and then at the bottom, I'll just take this and we can put this to, yeah, I think C. We could just follow the bass line, right? I'm not really sure. Oh wait, it's the wrong one. Yeah, it'll be fine, right? And let's just listen. Okay, I like that change, but I want to add something in there. I'm gonna add the G down here. Okay, because you know the G's up here. But I don't even think we need to add it that much. I'm just listening to see like any changes. All right, so I'm satisfied with that. That's kind of what I want. I want it to sound like it's a lot going on, but at the same time, you don't want it to be too cluttered. So now let's go ahead and move on to our little last tips here. Now, next, this is something that isn't technical. It's something I made up a while ago. They're called linger notes. Now, these are long notes that play maybe 1 or 2 bars apart, okay? And these just add more to your melody and make them sound a little bit more interesting. So you can kind of, this could be an accent, whatever you want. But this is the sound. It's the old sax instrument here, okay? So all you're gonna do, same notes, you're just gonna play a note like this, and then every few bars, just change it. And then we can use those same notes. It's a little melodic, but it's okay for me. Oh, let's make sure we put these on. You can see how just these simple notes are kind of making it, they're kind of giving, I'm not gonna say a story, it's a melody, right? It's not a book, but it's kind of pulling it along, right? It's not, it doesn't sound like it's repeating now, right? But with these notes in here, it's kind of sounding like a 8-bar melody rather than a, let's be real, this is really a 2-bar melody hidden, right? But that's why I like to use linger notes. So let's go ahead and move on, and now we can do the arpeggiated notes. Now this is the fun part. We're gonna be using like our arpeggiated notes here. So usually I would use like a bell for this, or like a key. I don't know why it's not showing the preset. So soft piano. Before we start, make sure I'll show you all of the presets here. So this is the Atlas bounce for the first one. The second one, gone effect. I believe that's correct. Double check. All right, I'll just favorite them so you know which one. Old sax for the number 3. And number 4, soft piano. Okay, so a key, a bell, pluck. So these are really simple. Some of you probably already did these before. You can use any note. For me, I'd like to start on like one of these little notes here. Shift D. Well, you don't have to start there, but I want it to start to sound dark. So we'll go up into the key, right? So we'll start here and then boom, boom, boom. And then we could just really, I mean, honestly, I'm really cheating. Do this and then we could end on the B. Okay. So I know I did that pretty fast. I'm gonna walk you through it. Okay. So that's what it sounds like. I'll turn it up a little bit more. So what do we do here? Okay. I'm gonna break it down. So remember, we stole from here and we also have B right here. Now, since I used B a lot, as you can see, and you could use any other, it doesn't really matter. You could use any other one. Okay. Right. We use B a lot here. I just chose B. You could have chose any other note if you wanted to. You could have started with E if you wanted to, but did this. And then we basically go into the key, right? Use our little half steps here. And then all I'm doing, that's it. That's literally it. You just copy it. Copy it. And then you could delete it. And then just end it on here. And that's pretty much it. That's just a rundown. Okay. It's not too much to explain because it's really simple, right? We just did this and copied it. If you wanted to try something else, like, if you want to do that, you could, right? It's up to you. Right, it's not that big of a deal. So what we're gonna do, pull this over. I'm gonna pull this down an octave just so it's consistent. All right, so now we're done with those and everything is pretty much done. We just got 2 sounds left and one is gonna be including the bass. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we're just gonna rinse and repeat. So here we have Doom 3. I just chose this sound. So you could add a pluck. It doesn't really matter what you add at this point because the melody is pretty much done. Now you're just kind of adding just the cherry on top, right? And really the bass is the last thing we need to add, which I guess I could just show right here. The dealer pad, okay? We'll just do these together. So for this, we're gonna copy what we did up here. So remember we simplified it, except now we're gonna even do it even more. So we're just gonna take this pretty much, and matter of fact, let's just copy it, and then we can just delete all this. Oops. Okay. And like I said, this is just the cherry on top. We don't need all that. We might need to change some notes up. So this is just something I like to do just to add like some chord feel to it. You can kind of, if you want to play, like to have the chords play, you can do that. That usually sounds good in dark melodies when you have like soulful chords playing. But I'm gonna just kind of leave it bare bones. Let's do like actually let's make a chord. All right, like I kind of like that feel, having that little chord there, minor. And then we can just copy that over. So we didn't copy exactly, which that's not the goal. It's just kind of, and the reason why I always say like, okay, just copy this, use this as a blueprint. The reason I say that is because the reason why making melodies is difficult is because it's hard to just start from a blank slate. So if you at least have, okay, this to work with, then you can turn that into this. You know, so then we took this and we're like, okay, we're going to start with here and then we're going to iterate from it. And then we end up with this, right? And it's not a big change, but it's something. And I'm going to just literally copy this, but change up some of the notes here. So maybe we could make a chord upward. Let's see how that will sound. I don't really even hear that. It adds a weird vibe to it. I don't know how to explain it, but it is like kind of a weird sound to it. I like it personally. I'm gonna keep it. Now, lastly, for the bass, I mean, you already know the bass lines. We already talked about that earlier, but it's E to C, and then we kind of have our melody, and then we can add effects. I'm gonna just focus on the bare bones because I always add effects. We could just focus on the bare stuff because some people may not have the same plugins. Well, not plugins, but you know, the effects and all that stuff. So do something like that. And you could do something like that. I'm gonna leave it like that, and then from here you could just, like I said, I'm not gonna add any crazy stuff, any crazy effects. I'm just gonna reverse it, something like that. I know the new FL Studio you could do something like this, right, in reverse. So you hold Alt and click, and you can reverse it, and it kind of adds, I don't know, it's a new system where probably should make a video on it, but basically instead of changing it, right, you see this isn't reversed, but it's adding a clip. If you can see that, you see how it's adding a clip. So it's kind of just organizing things for you, making it easier to like deal with samples. But we're just gonna reverse it here, and then you can kind of have like a little cool sample. I kind of like pitching it up like so. Oh. Why does it sound so high pitched? I'm pitching it down. But yeah, so that is how you make your dark melody, okay? And then you can kind of chop it up, or you can just leave it as is, add a little beat on top. But that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.